Coming to you live from Mars, it's the 10-Point Podcast. Howdy, stranger. This is Bruce. If things have gone wrong, I'm talking to myself and you don't have a wet towel around your head. Now, whatever your name is, get ready for the big surprise. You're not you, you're my co-hosts on the podcast this week. First, he's not free, but he's available. It's Chris.
Howdy.
Howdy. And secondly, sleazy and demure, it's Andy.
Yeah, boy. This is not our first time on Mars either, is it? We've been on Mars a couple of times now.
I know, I just realised that.
Yeah, one of our first trips was to Mars, wasn't it? With the, at the time, much maligned Doom that we did. On reflection, not that bad compared to some of the stuff we've covered on the podcast. Speaking of that sort of stuff, we are the 10-Point Podcast. Visit 10pointpodcast.com for all your 10-Point Podcast stuff. All your links, all the old episodes. We're on YouTube. We are on all your podcast apps. 10-Point Podcast on those too. We are now well beyond 80 episodes, so there's at least 80 films for you to look out for on there, and some other best ofs and bits and pieces.
From all over the spectrum as well. Good and bad.
Good, bad, this kind of movie, that kind of movie, genres, comedies, even a few kids' movies in there, but I wouldn't recommend showing your kids the podcast. Maybe just show them the movie.
Why not? We're friendly on YouTube most of the time.
Our Pointy's got banned.
Currently. It's going up very soon, hopefully.
It could have been because of Andy's 30 seconds of madness.
I'm going to say it'll be for bad language or sexual content, both of which was Andy's.
Well, I've decided this season I'm going to tone it back for all my fans. I'm going to be a bit more PC this time.
Right. And we'll see if we can be allowed on all of your favourite streaming apps and podcast apps.
We're going to be on OnlyFans soon enough.
Well, what was it? We only have 5 fans, didn't we? So we're halfway there. Yes, 10pointpodcast.com. Everything is up there. You can find all the stuff you need. But before we get on to the podcast this week, or the main key points of the podcast, what have we been watching? Normally I say in the last week, but what have we been watching in the last month? I have got quite a list of stuff that I've covered, so I don't know if someone else wants to start off, and then I'll mop up at the end. Then Chris was nodding. So
mine's is a mini rant, so I need to go last.
Lead off, Andy. Start us on the new season.
I need to go last because I'm going to destroy some things. It's not positive.
I watched a couple of stuff, but I say a couple. I watched a few things, but I'll go on the things I actually enjoyed mostly. Like I seen Ghostbusters Afterlife. That film is how you do a sequel / reboot. That's like that's how you make a female character front and center without forcing it down your throat. Unlike a certain other Ghostbusters film.
Yeah, but they did it with 4 of them. Yeah.
But yeah, I hit the nostalgia note fine, and it was emotion. I briefly touched on it in the pointies. That the scene, it broke me. It's the hardest. I've struggled to hold back tears before the film, and it was just perfect. I thought.
Yeah, very much. I think we saw it during the season, Andy, didn't we? So Chris is kind of tidying up, having not seen it during the season. So we've spoken all we need to speak about it beforehand. But yeah, very good. Thumbs up for me, Ghostbusters Afterlife as well.
Let's move on before I break down again.
Yeah, exactly. Any others, Chris? Any other high points you want to hit?
Yeah, I went to the cinema to go and watch Spider-Man: No Way Home. Hands down. Yeah. The best Marvel film ever, I think.
Right. Okay. That's large talk. On the one viewing, I guess. I'm assuming you've not seen it once, again. On the first viewing, you think it's the best. It's certainly one of the more entertaining ones. Flew by. It's 2+ hours, whatever. But yeah, it is an absolute fan service. Like, we got spoiled going in. Everybody in the world knew what was happening in the film. But yeah, fan service done right, and I don't know, opens up more going forward for Marvel again. Also, it's another stepping stone into explaining what's going to be happening with Marvel going forward as well.
I really like a slight spoiler. It's been out for a few months, so people have probably know what happened.
People know now, surely.
Andrew Garfield and Willem Dafoe stole the show for me. They were absolutely brilliant, I thought.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield was really good. I think he's the one he's getting a lot of the credit, or he's getting his flowers, I believe is the modern term. People are giving him his flowers for his performance, and everyone's now, we need another Amazing Spider-Man movie, despite the fact that they've slagged it for the last decade how bad Amazing Spider-Man movies were. We need another one. Any others?
I thought it was superb. Which leads me perfectly on to quite possibly the worst Marvel film I've ever seen, Eternals. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to talk about it. I thought it was pish.
That's the film that made Thanos right.
Thanos was right. Yes, they're selling merch like that now, aren't they? At least it was in Hawkeye. They were selling merch. So, yeah, I saw Eternals too. I don't know if I saw it during the season, but either way, I thought Eternals was certainly a big swing and a slight miss. I think I actually went for something very different, and it just wasn't quite what people are looking for. It had elements I thought were really good, but it's one of these films that I fear now going forward. Yeah, one of these things that I fear now. It's like this gigantic, really important thing has been happening the entire time in the background that never chose to get involved because we hadn't made the film yet, rather than because they just would have been more involved in the whole Thanos thing. I feel like they didn't explain it that they were staying separate enough in that one. But anything else, Chris? Was that you?
There's a lot of little things I watched over Christmas, but I can't really remember them now. They were the big ones that I watched.
If anything jumps out, step forward. I'll go next since Andy wants to go last with his rant. So I've not yet seen the new one. However, I watched the Matrix trilogy in the last few weeks.
I watched that as well. Yeah,
there
it was that good. I wanted to talk about it.
1, 2, and 3. I had never actually seen the Matrix third one. The names confuse me because they're all the same word. So Revolutions. Is that the new one? Revolutions. I'd never seen
the new one's Resurrections.
That's the newest one. So I'd never seen the third one, Revolutions. I'd never seen it before, and it's comfortably the weakest.
You wait.
Yeah, well, of the three, I've heard very, very, I don't know, mixed things about the new one. But the second one, I really enjoyed the second one. I feel like I understood what was happening way better than I ever did before in the second one. First one's a classic.
Vis-a-vis.
Yeah, it went up in estimation. The third one was not what I thought it was going to be. It's a totally different. It's like they decided to make a completely different film to the other two. I don't know why. Oh, you've created this great world where this happens and that happens. So then let's just not really use that much and then be all out, like outside. And I still don't know how Neo had superpowers and all that. But yeah, anyway, the Matrix very up and down. But I've not seen the new one just yet. Similar theme. I watched the first 3 Scream movies in the last couple of weeks as well. And I'd never seen the third one of that either. And it's pretty bad, so I might never watch it again.
Is that the James Silent Bob one?
Is that the one with the bad haircut?
Oh, yes. And okay. Watching it, and Jane's comfortably younger than I am, I'm like, that was never fashionable. I don't care. Like, she was like, I didn't think it was. Like, no, that was never fun. Whatever Courtney Cox decided to do with her hair, that was never a hairstyle. But yeah, the one that's set on the movie set is really bad.
I vaguely remember it.
And, well, put it this way, it's a spoiler from however long ago it was. They broke the rules of Scream. There was only one killer in Scream 3, where the other 2 are 2 killers. So it's like, it was wrong on that front as well. But the first 2 are really good and way better than I remember them being. Other bits and bobs, I watched the first 2 Jackasses because the new one's coming out. They're as funny as ever. The problem is I know exactly what happens in every single scene of it. And then 2 films. One that really, really surprised me. I watched Red Dragon. I'm very slowly working my way through these Hannibal Lecter films. I'd never seen Red Dragon before, which is like a remake of a film about Hannibal that didn't have Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal in it. Really good, like, exceptional. It's almost as good as Silence of the Lambs as Red Dragon. I really, really enjoyed that one. So a big recommendation to anyone who might like a thriller or a horror that's never seen it. Red Dragon. And then most recently, just because I was bored at the weekend, I watched Jungle Cruise starring The Rock and Emily Blunt, which is absolutely fine for what it is. It does exactly what it needs to do. It's a story in the style it needs to be. However, I don't know why the CGI is so bad in it, and it just exposes the fact that a film called Jungle Cruise quite clearly wasn't filmed in the jungle in any way whatsoever. It's like Attack of the Clones, the second Star Wars. You can tell the entire thing is just filmed with a green screen behind them. But other than the background, very fine film.
Had we watched this during the last podcast and we were telling you about the jokes that The Rock comes out with?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Some of the worst jokes ever. Unintentionally, I guess. And that's me. I watched Spider-Man as well and all that. So yeah, Andy, what did you watch in the last month?
Right, I've seen everything that you guys have watched, which brings me on to my rant. And this is for Hollywood. Stop fucking making films that are reboots, remakes, and fan wank. I'm done with it now. I'm done. I'm over. Like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but like, this was like, honestly, the release order of this, right? So it was like, Spider-Man, right? A little bit of fan wank in there. They brought old films in, say, kind of rebooted it. Then they did The Matrix, which, spoiler alert, is the first 3 films, all rolled up into 20 minutes, then gave us a bunch of fan wank that nobody wanted. Then we had Ghostbusters. Well, we had Ghostbusters before that, which is basically Ghostbusters 1 again.
Yeah.
And then I watched Scream, which is exactly the same as every other fucking Scream film. It's like, come on! It's like, they used to just make sequel after sequel. Now they're just making reboots and calling them sequels, but, oh, no. And Scream has this perfect scene in it. It's also the same as the Jane and Silent Bob reboot, where they talk about reboots and remakes. Stop doing it. Like, watch Scream, because it's actually pretty good, don't get me wrong, but I'm fed up of them now. Same with all them films. They're all okay in their own rights, but I am done with it. I want new stories. I want new shit.
I can't remember the last original idea that came out of Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, I guess Eternals, maybe. I don't know.
Not really, it's a team-up movie.
But of course, it's based on a comic book as well. The other thing was these reboot, not even these sequels that are a remake as well. They're essentially remaking the first one, so they then can carry on going again.
Yep.
So technically, the next round of films should be all new again. So, like, if they make another Scream, it should follow on from what we've just had. If they made a new Matrix, it should follow on from what we've just had. I don't know what happened to it, obviously, but so technically, the next round of all these same IPs coming around again should be a different story.
The problem
so
is they don't they hit the original audience well, but they don't connect with the new audience, so they never happen. So they should just make new original films like Total Recall. Because there's a segue.
The remake of it is good. I like the remake of Total Recall. Well, I'm sure that might get mentioned.
I've seen it once, so I can't really remember it.
Yeah, I do in fact like it. It's the same but different.
Yeah, my rant's over, so we can segue onto it now.
Yes, let's crack on with point number 1 on the 10-point podcast. The point number 1 is what is the point? The point of the podcast this week is the 1990 action-adventure sci-fi film Total Recall. Yes, the 1990 version, not the 2011 or whatever year it was they made a remake. Brought to us by TriStar Pictures, who we have featured a lot. District 9, Silent Hill, Idle Hands, Starship Troopers, and Look Who's Talking. And also brought to us by Carolco, who we've never featured before, but have made films like Basic Instinct, Rambo, Showgirls, Stargate, and Cliffhanger. Yes, pretty much the 1990s is when they made films, you may be able to tell. The film Total Recall, based on a short story called We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, a story by Philip K. Dick, who we have featured before, because he also wrote the story that was the basis for A Scanner Darkly. We talked a lot about Philip K. Dick on that podcast, where he successfully predicted about 1,000 things that happened about 50 years after he wrote stories on them. Like, he wrote that in Minority Report and all these things that turned into Blade Runner and all these sci-fi things he wrote decades ago that have all kind of half come true, and then we turned into great Hollywood films in the 90s. However, the screen story itself was written by Ronald Shusey, Dan O'Bannon, and John Poville, and the screenplay was Gary Goldman, not Gary Oldman, but Gary Goldman. Between them, nothing massively great, but Shusey and O'Bannon did write Alien, which we've covered on the podcast before, therefore are credited on every Alien thing ever since, because they wrote the first story, so every other Alien thing is based on a story they wrote in the beginning place. But yeah, the others, nothing too sensational. Total Recall, directed by Paul Verhoeven, who made RoboCop prior to making Total Recall, then went on to make Basic Instinct and Showgirls, then Starship Troopers, which we've covered before, and Hollow Man seem to have been the big things that I could find for Paul Verhoeven, so we've definitely talked about him before. The film stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as Quaid and or Hauser, depending on who, when, where, whatever. Definitely touched on him before. Famous for being the Terminator, and has been in a few films that we've done as well. Won't go too far into that because it'll spoil things for Chris later on. With Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rachel Tickleton, who played Melina. This was a big breakout role for her, really. Total Recall, then was in Falling Down, Con Air, and Man on Fire after that.
I didn't realise that was harder than Con Air until I was Googling them.
I thought she was another one of these one and done female co-stars with Schwarzenegger, that every single film he has, he always seems to have this woman I'd never heard of being the love interest, and that's the only film that they ever were in. But yes, she's been in a few other things. And Sharon Stone, in her movie breakout role as Laurie, she went on to make Basic Instinct, Sliver, The Quick and the Dead, Casino, and then become a major movie star in the decades afterwards. But this was her big, after TV movies and TV appearances, this was her massive movie breakout role. Total Recall, made on a budget of $65 million. Opened in the US first weekend, $25.5 million. Final US gross, $119.5 million. Worldwide, it raked in $261 million, so made nearly a $200 million profit on Total Recall.
I want shares.
Released, yeah, and you can see why they rebooted it, but it doesn't really explain why they never made a sequel, because this is like 1990. This is prime successful film. Let's make a number 2, like as in like Terminator.
It was a happy ending. It was done.
Yeah, I quite like the fact it's not a sequel because it left it ambiguous.
Yeah, exactly. Later on. Which we'll touch on before we get going, hopefully, if I have my way. So we'll come on to that. Released 1st of June 1990 means that it was available for the 1991 awards season. And surprisingly to me, 1991 Oscars has had Total Recall represented. Total Recall nominated for Best Sound, but it lost to Dances with Wolves, and was nominated for Best Sound Effects Editing and lost to Hunt for Red October. So 2 losing nominations. However, it won an Oscar at the Oscars that year. Yeah. A Special Achievement Award for visual effects.
That just means they were there. They tried.
The thing was, it as part of where I did my research, it lists a winner, Special Achievement Award, and in brackets, it was like runners up and listed a whole bunch of other films, and it especially said not nominees but runners up, and it listed a whole bunch of other films that came out that year. So I don't know, this special award was invented for that year, seemingly, as in special effects are so good this year, we need to make this new Oscar for it. So Total Recall was the best of the bunch, apparently. 1991 BAFTAs, Total Recall was nominated for Best Special Visual Effects there as well, but lost to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which we've done before.
Destroyed.
But the real big one, the only award ceremony that we care about, the 1991 Saturn Awards. Total Recall, a major presence at the Saturn Awards in 1991. Nominated for Best Music, but lost to Back to the Future 3. Nominated for Best Makeup, but lost to Dick Tracy. Nominated for Best Special Effects, but lost to Back to the Future 2, because they were both nominated at the same award ceremony, because both came out within the same 12-month period. Nominated for Best Costumes, it was the winner. It won the Saturn Award for Best Costumes. Nominated for Best Writing, lost to The Exorcist 3, which is a bad look. Nominated for Best Director, Paul Verhoeven, lost to James Cameron for The Abyss. Nominated for Best Supporting Actress, Rachel Tickleton, lost to Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost. Nominated for Best Actor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, lost to Jeff Daniels in Arachnophobia. And nominated finally for Best Science Fiction Film, and it won. It won Best Science Fiction Film, which would be the major award in its category, because they kind of do it differently at the Saturn Awards. Listen to the films it beat in the Best Science Fiction Film. It beat Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, RoboCop 2, The Abyss, and Tremors.
What a year.
That's a list of nominees.
That's a list of our films.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, this is our year, the 1990 Saturn Awards.
We should be sponsored by the Saturn Awards.
I think so. We should reach out to them, see if we can get our own, the 10 Point Podcast Award at the Saturn Awards. Right then, before we get on to discussing the film and getting very, very spoilery, the synopsis, brought to us by Nick, an old favourite.
Yeah, he's back.
Nick's got a couple of gimmicks he likes to put into his ones. Let's see if he does it again. Plagued by vivid and distressing visions of colonised Mars, the ordinary construction worker Douglas Quaid nurtures an unquenchable desire to travel to the unknown and distant red planet. To decipher his recurring nightmares, Quaid enlists the help of the memory implant company Recall to purchase a cheap alternative, the recollection of ideal virtual vacation. Instead, the procedure backfires, and what Quaid used to perceive as reality is no more. Now, someone has put a target on his back, and the bullets start flying. The answers that Quaid are seeking are in Mars. However, what is real and what is a dream? Are Quaid and his family prepared for the total recall? Yes, Nick
Oh.
likes to say the thing in his synopsis.
Oh, I was going to say, is that the thesaurus? Nick?
And usually, I think Nick likes a thesaurus as well, yeah. When it starts with plagued, or
Right. I need to stop before we move on, because something is annoying me right now. Okay.
What's that?
So I'm going to be a bit more PC, so I've got to gently go around this one. But if you're watching on YouTube, right, Chris has got a little animated GIF. And it is doing my head in, okay? However, it has raised the question of, is this the film where that saying came from? Of a certain type of people?
Because he has a towel on his head. Are you
Yes.
suggesting that? I believe not.
Okay.
I doubt it.
It's because it's been in my head and I needed to get it out there in the open because it's in there. I've got to get things out. I don't hold back.
Eating you up.
Right, carry on.
Yes,
got that off my chest.
the trigger warning is gone as a point on the podcast, so I guess Andy's going to slip them in.
Doesn't mean it'll stop him.
Exactly, yes. Right, who picked? Chris picked. Chris, why did you pick Total Recall, other than it's part of your theme, as we know that by now?
Yeah, well, I think the main attraction of the film, like the boob trifecta, has been mentioned more than once before. I thought, Joe, I'll get this out of the way.
It's funny because he is the most susceptible of picking a movie. We've mentioned 3-titted women on a podcast, maybe once, maybe twice. He then picks the film. It's happened more than once.
Oh, yeah.
He, oh, carry on.
Oh, no, I was going to say, it's a film I haven't seen for absolutely ages, and I just thought, it works for the theme that I've got.
Good.
We'll be watching Basic Instinct next.
Oh, no. Not in this, no. I'm not discussing that film in this. I've seen it before, but I'm not discussing it in the podcast.
It's a good film. I like it. Besides all the controversy, or whatever you want to call it, or the subject matter, it's actually a good film, Basic Instinct.
Yeah. In classic, typical Chris fashion, I'd never actually seen it from the very start before. I'd never seen the opening credits, but I think my mum had recorded it on TV and thought, fuck it, you don't need the credits. We'll just skip it to the start.
yeah. Because they're quite long and classic Temple podcast style, yes. So Chris has seen it before, not for a while. I've seen it before. I saw it in August 2020. Around about the time we were doing The Burbs and Interstellar on the podcast, I watched this film and mentioned it on the podcast.
The Inception started.
So again, that's the Inception started. And definitely in the 1990s, I definitely saw this when I was younger. So what about you, Andy?
I've definitely seen this many a time. But I did try and find the new version, and I've got the mind-bending version, which I don't actually know if there's any difference in it. But it looks shinier in Blu-ray.
Right, okay. I just watched. Well, I'll come on to that. Which version did we watch? I watched. It was 1 hour 49 minutes, which is like about 4 minutes shorter than what the runtime says on IMDb. So I don't know if I had.
That's probably the version I watched then.
Yeah, I had the Sky Cinema is where I watched it. So I don't know if they had like a TV-friendly one or whatever. But where would we normally have found it? What channel would we normally?
Oh, Channel 4.
Nailed on Channel 4, and then maybe Channel 5 after it had finished its rotation with Channel 4, maybe make its way on Channel 5 when they had a bit more money.
I'm pretty sure this is coming out in like the 9 o'clock film 4th series is coming up soon.
Could be. It could be. Not
we should get sponsored by Film 4 as well. We'll do all their movies.
Yeah.
Fuck Alex Zane, we'll do this.
Yeah, I've got to do a shout out for any sponsors at the beginning, like I normally do. So yeah, anyone who wants to give us money.
I'll just keep dropping in sponsors randomly.
Yes, exactly. Right. So normally we go to point 2 here before we start with the high points. But before we get going, I think we do need to establish something. Because we did this, kind of did this with Die Hard, where we thought we were going to debate whether it was a Christmas movie, and immediately it is a Christmas movie. All three of us agreed, and we just cracked on. So before we get going, the events of Total Recall, did it happen, or is it in Quaid's head, the entire thing? Who has an opinion?
I like to think it happened, but there's things that I'll talk up later on, like how did Melina get into the machine, her image and stuff like that. It confuses me.
What about you, Andy? Have you got a strong opinion on either?
I think it's in the machine. This is him playing out.
Right.
All right.
Because prior to this viewing, I always thought it's one of those films. Oh, there's a sign there and a sign there. And the one I kept thinking of is before he goes to sleep, he literally picks the woman out and then finds her. Like it is her on the screen. I've made sure to make sure that it's definitely Rachel Tickleton on the screen. It is her.
Yeah.
However, this time I am positive that this really happened and it's not in his head. because pretty much everything that happens prior to him meeting Cohagen could set up as part of his plan, because he could at the recall offices make them put Melina's face on the screen.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is his big grand plan, and I'm like, And I watched it twice this week to make sure. And the second viewing, I'm like, yeah, everything. Cohagen seems to be this very important guy. Like, he's on TV, and I'm not actually sure what his job is, Cohagen, in the film. Seems to be like, I don't know, Prime Minister of Mars?
Or something, yeah.
I don't know. It's like weird. So I think the entire thing was planned by him and also by our guy Arnie as well. And the whole plan went perfectly until at the end he like did turn back into a bad guy again. So that's my opinion.
It does make sense. I do like that opinion. However, it then raises more of what a bellend. He just got all his goons killed. He just caused chaos. Yeah. It was a shit overall plan, but it was a plan that worked.
Again, it's one of these ones where it's a great plan and it goes very successfully, but then there's just elements that throw it off. But yeah, like
he did say that Michael Ironside, I can't remember what's called, Victor, he wasn't part of the plan. He kept putting spanners in the works.
Exactly, which when you could just have told him. Like, oh yeah, another thing was because the whole reason they did it was because the mutants, I don't know, the Martians, whatever they are, on Mars, they have psychic powers.
Yeah.
So they needed to completely wipe his mind clean. So that explains that part of it as well, as like why you would do it and all that sort of stuff.
But
so,
then why did the construction worker dude get killed?
What's that?
Like the construction worker dude, his little friend.
Yeah. Poor whatever his name is. Was he? What was his name?
Oh, Harry.
Harry, actually.
Yeah, he gets absolutely destroyed for literally no reason because he's not part of Michael Ironside's group. He's not like technically been put there by the thingy dude.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He's probably working for Cohagen as well, like a separate squad of goons. Yeah.
And then he gets absolutely fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, and then poor Laurie as well. Like she's just, her job is to pretend to be his wife for 6 weeks.
Well, this raises more questions. It's like, right, okay, Chris, I'm gonna go with you. You're a happily married man. Okay.
I'm married.
You might not be if you answer this question, depending on how this goes. Right. Say your boss, i.e. Sean, says, right, Nicola must go sleep with a guy just because he says. Would you be okay with that? Because Michael Ironside seems like he's pretty okay with it.
No, I didn't realise they were married until I watched it this time, and the guy says, I'd be pretty annoyed if my old lady was banging somebody.
It's
I'm
such
not sure they're married, necessarily.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are, though, but it's just such a weird thing to make somebody do.
Yeah.
You could pick anybody that was single, just right here. Here's like a million
exactly,
Mars bucks,
but not your main henchman.
Yeah.
So I think he must have hated his main henchman.
Yeah,
he let them a chance.
Yeah. Right, so I don't know. We've staked our opinions on that, so we'll crack on now. On high points, point number 2 on the blogger site. What we thought the best bits and things were about the film? Chris, why don't you start us off?
The opening scene, which is literally right behind you, as he falls down that cliff and his face just swells up. That gave me nightmares when I was a kid.
I don't think it gave me nightmares, but that's what I remember. To me, that was what that's that film where that happens. So that's what I always remembered. Was his face swelling up.
It's quite like horrific. When I was watching it, it's just like proper pain. You're like, oh my god, he's actually doing it. He's going to blow up.
Yeah, which also obviously we've just discussed what we've discussed. I'm not sure that might just actually be a nightmare. Because
but like this is nothing. Like, how did he see her? Is she just a random thing? He's just like,
but he had met her before. Like,
oh yeah.
So he had some weird dream. I was on Mars. She was there. But then him dying thing didn't happen. That's the nightmare part. Or maybe it's his subconscious being like, oh, you've killed yourself because you turned your back on yourself to go and be this other guy. So you killed who you were before and now you're a new person or something. But yeah, that's the only... I don't think that scene happened with them on Mars at the start, but I think everything else happened.
But, so threw me off there. I was
sorry.
There's quite a lot of that thing with the head, like behind me, him getting the thing put on his head. So like all those effects for Arnie's head, I thought were great through the entire film.
They were.
They put like so much effort and it looks quite realistic, apart from a couple, which I'll talk about later on.
There was one or two glimpses where you could tell it was like a Muppet, but I guess they're animatronics. That's what I called them in my notes. I guess they've been the animatronics that are animatronics. I guess
animatronics, nice.
That was not pre-written. I just came up with that now. That
patent pending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were very good. Which takes me on to like my next two high points are things you mentioned, but adding on to that as well. I like the ideas of the TVs on the train. I think that was a good idea. I don't know why that's not been invented in real life yet. But pretty much all the futuristic techie bits, specifically Johnny Cab. I love the Johnny Cab stuff. He's amazing. But yeah, these extra bits that aren't too fancy, they weren't too out there. Like the video phone is quite a... I imagine...
And then there's like the Peloton thing, the gym exercisey shit. Like, that's not a thing. We're finally just getting that.
Exactly. So we see the like CGI woman playing tennis in your living room with you. That's the only that's we're missing now. But yeah, all of the futuristic tech is done well in the film, but also reasonably accurate to what has turned out, whatever we are now, 30 years later. So yeah, that's a high point for me. Is everything that's meant to be futury in the film.
I've got a double-barreled one.
Even kind of space public transport, I imagine that's what it'll be like when we get to that stage as well. It's like that as well. So carry on, Andy.
Right, double-barreled high point. I like the story, because we kind of explained about that, because it's just a mindfuck. Like, I like that all the way through. The twists, twist within a twist within a twist, Inception style. And sets. The sets were amazing.
Yeah.
So many good sets. That's my high point.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, obviously, like the cavernous kind of inside of the mountain is definitely CGI. But for the most part, I guess everything else was actually there.
That was a model. The flyby by the inside, there was like a really deep. That's like the last massive miniature model, like they ever made or something like that.
There we go.
But like even like Arnie like running around like the train station and stuff like that. It's like I don't know if that's a real train station, but it looks fucked up and futuristic.
Yeah.
And with all the staircases and stuff like that. Practical things where people get run over and stuff like that. You don't see enough people getting run over in films nowadays.
Yeah, and even like the last resort, and I guess the Red Light District on Mars, whatever you want to call it, you got an idea of the space there, and you knew, like, it felt like there was a couple of thousand people in that area and bustling around. But yeah,
like if you're walking down there, you're definitely getting some titties.
I'm not quite there yet. My next high point is the X-ray scene, or the X-ray scene.
That was amazing. Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my next
especially he's like this, like that, and he goes like that, and all of a sudden he just jumps through it. I thought it was a really nice touch.
I like the little doggy going through it.
The dog, exactly. Yeah, I can see the dog X-ray as well. It was really good. And then for me, the one after, not long after that, is the 2 weeks scene, which is totally randomly out of nowhere. Because like on your first viewing, I kind of remembered it when I was watching this time, but the first viewing, I was like, why is this random woman being featured now? And then the fact that like the reveal that it's like a giant thing on his head. But yeah, him coming through, I don't know, Mars security at the airport.
Fifth Element did do it better though.
Yeah, there's a lot of Fifth Element in this. A lot of Fifth Element.
Even though Fifth Element was after this.
Clearly, yeah. It was like
right,
7
can I bring the tone down a bit? Because I've got another high point.
As you do. As you do.
3 titties. Like, that's a high point, because they were so good. Like, so well done. Like, it didn't look out of place. Like, that's how I imagine 3 titties should be. And it was so good that they had to show them, like, 5 different scenes. So, fair play to whoever the titty designer was.
I don't remember them being fondled. That was I'd forgotten about that.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
I thought it was just like
they felt quite. Well, I say felt. They looked quite realistic. I was feeling them as I watched.
I don't know what more to add. To be honest, accurate, famous. I would say it's a famous scene. So.
And like we're not titty predators in this show because we've like done a film with a person with just one titty as well, like a uni titty. Kung Pao.
Oh yeah.
So
forgot about that.
We've done a 1 titty, we've done 2 titties, we've done 3 titties. Where can the titties take us now? And we're off.
Any last points, Chris?
Yeah, like when I was thinking about picking this film, like for some reason Hank from Breaking Bad just popped into my head, and I was like watching it going, why? Why is Hank just popped into my head? Yeah. And then he appears as Tony, the guy with the bad
ball sack on his face.
It wasn't until I had looked at the cast afterwards that I realised that was him. Like there were two, like the actor and that character are two totally different separate people to me. Like I did not put them together, but it wasn't until I was like, oh my god, that's who he was. So yeah, I did not connect the dots on that one there. But yeah, Tony, he's got quite a character arc in the film where you think he's just this, he's like the tough guy acting hard at the bar. Yeah. And then about half an hour later, he's one of the heroes of the film here. Like he's really helping out the good guys. My next high point is the scene where Laurie arrives with the doctor from Recall, which is like Andy says, one of the real mind-bending scenes where the doctor from the adverts for Recall is telling him that he is in the dream or the memory, and he is stuck there, and he's having sort of mental. And that's when I was really not literally, but taking notes, being like, right, so he said that and that and that. It's one of the big arguments about that it is a dream, is that in that scene the doctor correctly predicts everything that's about to happen. But everything that's about to happen is just his route to go from where he is to teaming back up with Cohagen again, which is what Cohagen would tell him to say. So that, again, I think that's still Cohagen's plan going on there. But that scene is exactly what I'm looking for in this kind of film, which is not what I expected when you go into this kind of film, that it's going to be, like you say, twists and kind of clever bits like that. You've got to try and work out what's actually happening. But that's a very good scene. And then, again, another reference from a film beyond this, the red pill. Take the red pill and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Matrix there as well. I've only got one more high point that I've written down, but so if anyone else wants to jump in.
I've got nothing. Everybody's covered everything.
I've got one. The lady with dwarfism, just running the knife through the guy with glasses.
Yeah.
Pure stabbing him. And my last one, it's Kawato, the first appearance of him. I was utterly amazed by the effects for him.
Here's one element I always forget every single time. I'm always watching the film thinking, who's the big guy again? Who is this? Who's it turned out to be? I can't remember who the actor is, and it's like, all right, that's why I can't remember every single time. It's a Muppet.
I just thought the puppeteering and like his overall look was just great. They did a great job. I think they've mentioned it more than once, the animatronics and stuff.
And what's good about Kawato is they reveal it. You're like, oh, okay, and it doesn't hang around too long. Like it's not like. It's not E.T. Like, he doesn't take over the film as this special character. It's like, boom, that's what he was the whole time. He's dead, and then we carry on with here's Arnold Schwarzenegger again, and he's in it for the right amount in the film, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And my last high point, which I kind of half skipped over there, is the fight at the last resort with the essentially Richter's team showing up. And Arnie hiding in the back door, and then pretty much just them just setting fire to the place, just full on, just killing everybody who's present. But mainly because it has a Temple Podcast favorite, which is a guy just running and jumping headfirst through a window at one point. A classic that always gets a cheer out of me. And that's my final high point. I think that's us through the high points. On the low points, then. I don't have anything from early on in the film, so I don't know if someone wants to start off with their low points. Okay, on you, Chris.
You mentioned like the train station before. Like when Doug is running through it and getting chased, he jumps through the train. Then for some reason, Richter just starts shooting at random windows miles away.
Yeah,
that's what you do.
Some folk.
Yeah, fuck them.
I thought it might be a low point. They never actually explained essentially who Cohagen is and what authority his squad has. Like Richter and that lot. Like, are they police? Like
I think it's like maybe President's goons or something like that.
Yeah, because like they do, like say, just run into a public place and just start shooting everything. It's like that probably shouldn't be allowed. And if it isn't allowed, why is there no authorities trying to stop them doing it? Andy, any low points?
Mine's actually is like kind of near the end. My biggest bugbear, because you guys will probably nitpick other things, is right before the kind of final showdown with the hologram thing. I hate that scene so much. It's
I've got that.
It's so cheesy, and it's just like it's obvious. It's just everything about the goons are just stupid. It just kind of takes you out of that film. It's like it's building up to something, and it's just got this weird cheesy let's kill as many bad guys scene. And it's just annoying. It always annoys me every time.
I've got a major point about this. I don't know if Chris has got the same thing as me, but 25 people stand in a circle with a circumference of about 10 paces. They all shoot at a hologram, which is referred to as in the center of the circle, and not one person takes a bullet. And then 2 minutes later, the exact same thing happens, but with Melina's hologram, and the two bad guys shoot each other. It's like, you've just shown me a minute ago that not happened. Why does that now? Because I was in the middle of complaining. How did nobody end up dead? And then they showed me it happening. I was like, well, what happened? Where did the bullets go in the first scene? It's like, that was me ranting for a while for that one. But yeah,
that is always one of my biggest low points in this film. Is that scene? It just always annoys me.
I didn't realize how bad it was until I watched it, because like, it doesn't make noise. So is he standing in the corner going, oh, and they're like, wait a minute, that laugh's coming from behind me. Behind this corner.
Also, the amazing moment of him doing it again, or doing it again, and being like, ha 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 ha, you think this was the real Quaid? It is! Which is just so cheesy, it's so bad. It's like, oh, incredible. Any other low points, Chris?
I've lost where I am now.
Right, I've got one. Little girl on Mars. I bet I can guess your birthday. Odds of 1 in 365. 1 in 365. And is that go on then? You're a Taurus. Oh, you're right. That's his birthday. That's a 1 in 12 chance. Like, that's not the same thing. I don't care. And she won the bet, or whatever it was. He gave her something there. Absolute scam artist. And I was so bad. It's like, that is not what she said she would do. 1 in 12 or 1 in 365. That is not the same thing. I'm not having it. So yeah, that set me off as well.
I was gonna say we've had a Bruce meltdown.
I'm outraged. I was.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I've raved about it before, but like some of the head things, like the one where he takes the ladies one off, and it's just like obviously, I don't know, some plasticine thing stood there. Yeah. And then again with Quattle.
Right? There's like literally no need for when he takes the head off. Why can't it just be Arnie's head?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they had to have made the woman one for him to take it off.
Yeah.
So I don't. I don't understand.
Again, it does the same thing with Quattle when he's when the guy's asleep.
Yeah.
And Quattle's holding him. It's obviously not him. It's always just like I don't know what's the word.
Yeah, he does get like twice the size as well, which kind of annoys me in that scene. And then he shrinks again when he starts running with them. Just going, ooh.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you just do it like Lance Henriksen style? Have his head poking through the ground like they do in Aliens. Why did they have to make a whole other body? There should be an easier way to do it, you'd think.
Right, my last biggest bugbearer ever is, I can't even do it, but three-fingered alien activation thing. There's no way his handprint worked and activated that entire death.
Oh, that, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, why make it a hand if it doesn't specifically have to be that hand that turns it on? You just could have made it a big green button. Like, just poof, turn up.
Just one on button.
Why does it need to be a hand?
Yeah. It really annoys me. It's like, oh, they're going to need some alien hand. Oh, he's going to pull off, he's going to be mutating or something. Yeah. Nah, it's just Arnie's hand. No fucks are given.
The before that, though, when he finally meets Quattle, does Arnie, and the whole open your mind scene, open your mind. Whose mind is opened? Like, I don't understand. Like, all we see are swooping shots, like through the big cavernous bit where the machine is, but neither of them are there. Like, it's not Quattle showing Arnie, oh look where it is, and it's not Arnie showing Quattle. So whose mind is opening, and I don't actually know what's happening. Like, they're meant to be psychic. So what is the connection here? Because it's just, here's the big building, and I think it's even, do we not see Richter and the bad guys in the building, or is it Cohagen,
the bad guy? Arnie would have been with them because he was obviously team bad guy all the way through. So
he wasn't then. Like, you don't see him. You thought you could show him in the scene. So
he was opening his mind because he's seen that. That's what, and he defected, and Cohagen didn't want him to defect. Did he defect though?
Nobody knows.
He's supposed to have defected, and then he knew that there was this machine that could give them air, but then he just wiped his mind. Why would you just wipe his mind? Just kill him.
Because at this point, he is a good guy, is Arnie, but he doesn't know he's working for the baddies, because the baddies have followed him to where Quattle is and they kill Quattle. So essentially what he is showing Quattle is what the good guys want him to show him, I think. But yeah, I don't understand the opening. And my last low point is just generally the love story with zero chemistry again. And I don't think it was fully explained what their relationship was beforehand. Because she remembers him and he loves him. Like, immediately when he finds her, she does the whole slap, oh, actually, I love you thing. But he was a villain at that point. So she must have known him as a villain, or was he just pretending to be a good guy then as well, and then had to leave. I feel like their relationship was
not on the turn when they first met. I don't know, maybe they were going for nice romantic walks in the desert.
He could have just been a good high-paying customer.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. But it's not made out to be like that. The film doesn't show them in that relationship, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, again, Arnie.
There's a lot of unanswered
Yeah.
riddles.
Arnie's not a good love story central man in anything he's ever in. So bad casting on that front. And that's my final low point. I don't know if anyone else has got any others.
I'm done.
No, I'm out.
On to point 4 then. Point 4 on the podcast is the stats. I counted the usual ones: 21 shits, 28 F-bombs, a lot of swearing in this. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. Which I don't know if it would be a shock at the time. I guess Arnie was in like Terminator and stuff, which isn't exactly family friendly, but yeah, a lot of swearing. 12 explosions, which was less than I thought it was going to be, but they were all kind of big and kind of one at a time. It's not like bang, 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 bang.
I forgot about that one as he's going to a taxi, it just randomly blows up behind him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot during the kind of chase scenes. Deaths, though, 79 deaths, plus 1 rat and about a dozen goldfish. They all died, so they count for the animal section.
Oh, yeah.
The rat and
They genuinely killed them goldfish, didn't they? That was not CG. They killed goldfish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it has to be. And well, let's say it was about a dozen of them.
Repeat on this.
Yeah, unless they dropped one on the floor, like take a shot of it. Chuck it back in the water again. So maybe it was like one at a time.
They killed the fucking fish.
I think at least a couple would not have made it. I didn't check the end of the credits. No animals were harmed. It probably doesn't say that.
They fucking were.
Speaking of animals, I didn't see any cows or any goats anywhere. It would be quite difficult, I think, but nothing else animal-wise. No peeing either. I couldn't see anybody peeing. The devil wasn't present. The KKK wasn't present. Paedophiles, I don't think there was any paedophiles.
I think Thingy's secondary goon, the guy with the motion tracker, he's definitely.
Right, yeah, he did look like that. Yeah.
He looked like the most out of place character in a film ever.
Was he the main one that kept going like, he's over there and shit,
yes,
and he's over there, like so,
yes,
yeah, he's useless as well.
Yeah.
As well. I guess so, possibly him, not actually confirmed. And then did they say the thing? Did they say Total Recall in the film?
Yes.
Only once after.
They had a lovely, this is for the trailer scene where they said the words Total Recall. And then Recall said a lot. Can we come up with a reason why the film is called Total Recall? The company in it is called Recall, but they didn't make it the same word. Like they made Recall a different word, obviously to brand it. Like as in, the company is called Recall. Why isn't the film called Total Recall? And then, like you would have thought, oh, we can sell Recall with a K in it. It's weird that it's spelt differently. Just call the company that if you want. Which
Americans.
Yeah, I couldn't think what's the reason. Chris, any stats from you?
Yeah, Arnie takes 3 nut shots in this film from the same lady. Like I was going to count other things. I was going to count like how many times you see Recall and stuff, and I got halfway to the film and I was like, bugger, I forgot. And then I was like, wait, Arnie's just taking like 2 nut shots in one fight here, so I'll count that.
Go for the weak point.
She did it in every fight. She counted what she was doing.
That's a technique, I would say. It's almost successful, I guess. And Andy, any stats from you?
Best pornographic moment. I'm going to do that one.
Right, okay.
Bringing this back for this one. Just 3 titties.
End of story. Can't beat that, really, can you?
That's what I remember about this film.
I mean, I feel like you're maybe doing Sharon Stone a disservice from the first scene, but fair enough. To each their own.
He's only got 2.
It's already a 50% disadvantage. Right. Point 5 on the 10-point podcast. The 10-point podcast quiz. Andy is our quiz master, and
Yay.
I really haven't made any attempts to memorize anything from the film. So
going old school.
Yeah.
Right, I've not got any fancy buzzers or whatever. Just old school, keeping it simple.
You tell me when we're right, and I will keep track of the score. Unless and Chris can do it as well if he wants to not claim that I'm cheating.
Right. So this has got the catchy title of Total Recall. Where you must recall parts of this film.
Totally. Right, okay.
Yeah, and there is no half answers. It must be a full recall to get it. So, in the Chris style of, let's just make this up as we go along. Who wants to go first?
So, yes, there's no cheating. I'll go first.
Right, you're going first, right? Okay. So, which I'm going to say 2 You got to name me 2 cast members that I have personally met.
See if you can remember, Chris.
Michael Ironside.
Recall that.
Correct, that's 1.
I
I need 2 for a total recall.
don't know their names. Let's see if I've got them here.
There's a time limit on this as well. 5.
Robert Costanza.
4. Nope. Bruce, can you name somebody else?
Robert Picardo.
Nope, too late. Bruce, passed over to you. There is one more. You're not allowed to use Robert Picardo.
I would have guessed Debbie Lee Carrington is who I would have guessed.
Correct. You get the point. So yeah, it was Robert Picardo, Michael Ironside, and Debbie Lee Carrington I have met.
I'm sure I got Robert Picardo in the last second there.
Nope. It was timer was done.
What's is there any scoring there, or is that?
Yeah, you got a point.
Oh, I get a point.
Yeah.
No, it's got like half a point each.
Nope. He took the points. Right. Chris,
I would have said Michael Ironside as well. So,
right. Chris, your question.
Okay.
Who wrote the book that inspired Total Recall?
Would that be Philip K. Dick?
Yes, it is. That's 2 points for you.
Yeah.
Right, Chris. This one. Total Recall answer. Here we go. In Doug's dream sequence at the start, what is the number of his spacesuit? Good move, Bruce. Good move.
Okay. 8.
It is 8.
It's 8 and 2, isn't it? I can't actually.
Yes, I thought it was a 3 there, but it isn't 8.
Point to Chris. Bruce, what is the brand of televisions in the Metro system?
I looked at them. I thought they were cool. I'm going to guess JVC.
No. Chris, you could do a steal.
Smart.
No, it's Proton.
Proton.
Right, it is now Chris. Which female companion option does Doug pick at recall? I'm looking for the number.
Oh, right.
41A.
Correct. That is a total recall right there.
I would have been done.
I thought I was trying to remember like voluptuous and all that, but when you said the number, I made it a lot easier.
Right, Bruce. How much is the Johnny Cab fare that Doug takes when he hijacks the cab?
I can't remember his funny line that he says. He shouted when he doesn't pay it. Is this the one he doesn't pay? Is that the one?
Yeah, but he still shouts out how much it is at the end.
Yeah, it does, yeah. $25.
Nope, Chris.
Is it 300 credits?
Nope, that was his first taxi ride. It was 18 credits.
Ah! I forgot it was credits as well, not dollars.
Right, what's the scores? I don't know.
It's 2-2, and it's Chris's question.
Right, Chris. What is the suite number at the Hilton that Quaid checks into?
Oh. 313.
No, Bruce.
327.
Nope, it was 610.
Ah.
Right, Bruce. What is the title of the newspaper on Mars?
Oh. Jesus.
This
is revenge for us asking these bizarre questions, isn't it, Chris? The Daily Martian.
Nope, Chris.
Oh, Mars Today.
Correct. It was Mars Today. Right.
Just a guess.
If Chris gets this right, Bruce is done. Can't get any. Right, Chris. Who has 3 titties?
Mary.
Correct.
Killed it. Oh well.
Yeah, Bruce, you can't actually win, so
I can't.
Well, quiz is over.
Defeated.
Chris does have a total recall.
Shenaniganized out of that there.
His keen eye.
It started off bad for you.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think I only got questions right that didn't actually involve the film there. Oh, who had these met and who wrote the story? Nothing involving the film. So,
if you'd went slightly more over, I mean, I've got that. You kind of covered half of it and you moved again.
Damn it. Oh, I wasn't sure which one it was, to be honest. I could see 2 people. It's really small for me. It's not fair. Right, better crack on. I've said that a few times. Point 6, movies within movies. I've kept an eye on parodies and references. And I say I kept an eye on, I did a lot of research on the internet for these ones, so I did not spot or come up with many of these, I should say. So, Elita, Queen of Mars, from 1924. Make a note of that. 1924, Andy. Elita, Queen of Mars. There was a woman with 3 breasts in that.
Oh.
So seek that
Yeah,
one out.
boy.
The film Torn Curtain from 1966. Dr. Edgemar, that's the doctor guy who rocks up saying it's still a dream. He was based on a character in that film. Capricorn 1 from 1973. That's where the Brubaker name comes from. The main character was a guy on the run from the law in that film in similar sort of situations. So that's where Brubaker comes from. 1984, that's clearly referenced with the way it's kind of Big Brother's always watching you in the film. Die Hard.
McClane.
When he arrives, he looks up McClane on a computer, just like in McClane appears. Die Hard there. The Fifth Element. It's other bits and pieces like space, kind of commercial travel. But Zorg's secretary paints her nails the same way as the woman does who works in the...
Can you imagine if that thing worked on the walls for like decades? It's so much easier.
Just a fill tool for everything. Like
yeah.
The Matrix swallowing the red pill. And then Planet Terror. There's a mutation in this film, i.e. Benny's mutation, is a very similar spoiler that I won't say if you've not seen Planet Terror. Someone mutates in a similar fashion in Planet Terror as well. And my never not good for this film, a bit of a struggle, but I think this is just about true. Never not good. Spies who don't know who they are. It seems to always work well. Born Identity jumping to my mind. And I like this one off over there. Spies who don't know who they are is always a good thing in films. Chris, movies and movies.
Jesus, we're in for quite a run here. So we've got Arnie was as recent as last season with The Expendables. He was also in The Running Man, and often mentioned but never seen Last Action Hero.
Yes, never to be seen because we didn't film it. Never heard The Last Action Hero.
He's also mentioned in Demolition Man, but I'm not sure if you're counting that or not.
Yeah, he was a president, wasn't he? Or he was either the president or running for president.
Michael Ironside, his only other appearance was all the way back in season 1 in Starship Troopers.
Of course, yeah.
And I never would have gotten this without looking it up. The guy who is Coatl plus his carrier was also in Starship Troopers as a general. And this is another sneaky Starship Troopers entry because I would never have got this one either. Dean Norris, who is Hank in Breaking Bad, and what's he called? Tony. Yeah, he was also in Starship Troopers as a commanding officer.
Funnily enough, the same guy directs Starship Troopers and also Total Recall. It's weird, that, isn't it? Yeah.
She was also been mentioned. Debbie Lee Carrington. She was Thumbelina. She was an Emperor Penguin in Batman Returns. And in the best movie ever made, she was some ducks.
The Pointy Award loser for worst film last season. Yes.
There was a lot. I think I gave up after a while. But Harry, who's Robert Costanza, was in City Slickers as the dad at Career Day.
The sensational monologue of Career Day. Yeah, amazing scene.
Robert Picardo was a garbage man in The Burbs. The film I always forget.
Chris didn't forget The Burbs for the first time ever.
You know what? Starship Troopers might become the new Burbs. I didn't realise there was that many folk in it. And I gave up after this guy, Bob Bergen, who did various voices in this, did various voices in Beavis and Butthead.
I did not get Bob Bergen. You have missed 2 that I've got.
That was as far as I got.
Yeah, 2 others.
I completely forgot to put us into the film.
Oh, all right, well, I have, so I've saved you in that one. Yeah, you missed Joel Kramer. He was a henchman in this. He was a soldier in Running Man. Like 10th guy from the left. But you actually missed one of the 3 major stars, Sharon Stone. We have featured her before. She was not. She was the Last Action Hero as well. The never seen, never heard pilot episode. She has one scene in it. She just walks out of like a building.
Oh no, it is that. I thought that was another cop comedy film that she did, and I never looked at her.
Last Action
I
Hero.
remember it now.
She was in that one, but yeah, it's hardly clear. But yeah, a bunch of them. But you got everybody else I got plus 1 more. If you haven't recasted us, it's a tough one, this. But I had one base that I was working from. For some reason, I made myself Richter. I liked Michael Ironside. I've not talked about him enough, so I think he was good in this film, and I'll be him. Just fine. Harsh. Tony is a redhead, so Chris could be Tony. As in, he literally has a red head. I went down that route. But I also want to keep everybody contained. We're all on the last resort together because Andy has to be Benny because Benny is full on. He loves to look at the three-breasted lady all the time. So that has to be Andy.
Yep.
So not the best recast.
I've got
trying to
5
think.
kids to
I
look
was
after.
thinking that I'd put Andy as Cohagen. Yourself. I'll stick with that as Victor. And I'll be Benny.
You could be Benny. Okay, right.
I'll be Benny.
Everybody
Don't
wants to
fight
go to
each
the
other, and Andy, movies and movies. I don't know what you're coming up with here. So movies and movies.
Right, I'm going to do a bit of recasting on this one. It's a nice, simple one. Just to picture it, right? You take Arnie out, and you put Colin Farrell in.
I like it.
I think it would work the same.
Die. It would.
It seems to work better with Arnie.
Nah.
I think this one works with Arnie, but I think the other one, the ensemble, works better. My casting change would be Bryan Cranston as Cohagen in this one. That's what I would do.
Ooh.
That's the change I would make.
Oh. Yeah, he was actually the shittest thing in it, to be fair. I don't like Cohagen.
Yeah, it was alright. It could have been improved on, but yeah, I think if you had a proper, full-on, like, important actor, it's like literally how the new one did it. Like, just a guy who's really famous, Breaking Bad links as well.
He's all. I remember being in a new film. This, I think, is RoboCop, as one of the CEOs of RoboCop, and that's the only 2 films I can think of him. He's a big honcho who I think does nothing.
He's in Stargate.
It's Ronnie Cox, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy who plays
I
Cohagen.
think so.
Yeah,
He's in
I
Stargate.
couldn't find much. Yeah, I was saying, looking to see what he was in. Again, Stargate. Is that the film or the TV show? Because the film
TV show.
had,
I think it could be in the film.
He's a. Isn't it like a president or something? Not president.
Yeah.
What's he called?
Yeah, he's in
Senator.
SG1. Yeah, he's in SG1, not the films.
Right.
Yeah, he's a
Because I say
president.
the Stargate film was made by Carolco as well, so I don't know if there was another link there. Right, Andy. Not Andy. Yes, Andy. Where are we?
Nope.
You've done movies
No,
and movies, haven't you?
I've moved.
Point 7.
Here we
Chris's point of mystery. I don't know. We don't know anything. I don't even know what Chris knows. So point 7.
No, I've got something. This could have been a number of ways, but I am doing movie Would You Rathers. So,
right, okay.
Would you rather have coatl-like mutant that comes out of your stomach, or be a Johnny Cab but you're self-aware? And this could have been. I could have been. Would you rather have 3 breasts on your body, or 3 testicles or something like that? But I thought, we'll go this way. So, like, if Andy was a Johnny Cab, he would still be Andy, but he'd be stuck in a cab for the rest.
I think I would enjoy being a Johnny Cab. I'd much rather that than some little prick like in my stomach. Just want to pop out for a while.
Like
that. Yeah, it's as pretty much coatl as he is, but like except he can read minds and things like he does.
No, because I definitely want some alone time every now and then, and you can't do that with a guy stuck to your stomach.
Where do you go? You're a car. Like,
close your eyes for a couple of minutes, coatl.
Yeah. I don't.
Maybe put a towel so you don't get blinded.
Yeah. I can't beat that.
I think a board just use his hands. Yeah, I'm bored. Take over for a while.
Oh, God's sake.
I wasn't expecting that to descend into chaos, but it has.
It's really, really tough one. Yeah, I can't beat that. Anyway, I'll be Johnny Cabs as well, just so we can move on. Like, would you rather? Point 7. Would you rather for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I'll talk about other ones. If I can't think of a decent one, I might just pick a random movie and do it.
Pick a random movie.
On to point 8. Our nominations for the 10-point podcast Pointy Awards. This is one thing I've got to say during the point is I very much liked sending messages to myself over time with these because I would always send a message to myself and I'd forget that I'd said something back in the past and then I'm watching it back and I'm, oh my god, I sent myself a message through time. So I might try and do that throughout the season here. For my nominations for Total Recall, I have got a bunch, so I'm going to run through them here. Best costume, Sharon Stone's workout gear. Best death, Cohagen. I thought his head swelling and kind of essentially exploding at the end was a good death. Tacked on would be everybody else's head swelling and stuff like that. Best fight, when the baddies arrive at the last resort and shoot up all the mutants in there and guy jump through a window. Best special effects, I've gone specifically with animatronic heads, but there's a lot of things in this film special effects wise that are good. Best plan, I still think Cohagen's master plan is an exceptional plan and goes effective enough amount that it's a good plan. It goes well enough for in a long enough period of time that it's a good plan. If Richter is a cop, I'm nominating him as best cop because I think he does a pretty good job of just running around repeatedly catching the good guy. And it turns out it was his boss was screwing him in the first place. Best twist, turning out that Quaid or Hauser was with Cohagen the whole time, is a great twist, and I think it's an underrepresented on top twist list. Worst kiss, Arnie and Melina, they have no chemistry whatsoever, and it just made me feel uncomfortable. Most annoying kid, I've just got right next to it. That's not his birthday. Right next to the most annoying kid. So definitely her. Most underused is Sharon Stone, who's actually really good in this. Like, I think she has about 3 scenes. She's really good in every scene, but just the character had to be what it was. So I think she's underused. And in our top awards, best inanimate object, Johnny Cab. Michael Pena, essentially Cohagen revealing the plan is Michael Pena. He tells a good enough story there. Best bell end is Richter. And then the worst plan was something I've not actually touched on yet. I forgot I'd written this down. The worst plan, the mutants or aliens or whoever it was that invented the giant atmosphere machine just never turning it on. Like, why did they never switch it on? It sat there for however long, decades, generations, whatever it is they say. Why did they made it? And it didn't turn it. Why didn't they turn it on?
Maybe the guy went to the toilet and just forgot to come back.
Yeah. So Alien with his massive 3-fingered hand never turning on the machine that he spent however long making. So a whole bunch of nominations. Anybody get anything else, or they want to double down on anything?
I'll run through mine because I think mine might be the same. I've got the best effects as the head models, especially, but Kovato as well. My best fight was Doug versus Laurie when he gets nut shotted twice.
Yeah.
What have I gone for? The best inanimate object, you can include your Johnny Cab, but mine was the meat shield that protects the dog from all the bullets on the escalator. And he gets lobbed down afterwards.
Yeah.
My biggest bell end, I went for the lady that tries to steal the case after it had been left for a dog.
I agree.
Oh,
what a bitch.
Good one. Yeah.
Yep, I'm with that. Absolute twat.
My worst plan was using a disguise that only says 2 weeks.
Yeah.
As you're going through customs.
Yeah. Did that break?
I think it malfunctioned. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It seemed like it was malfunctioning. Yeah. 2 weeks. Because there's very few questions 2 weeks is the right answer to. Like, there's not many.
My best support, and I went for Sharon Stone because she flipped between like sexy and then care and wife, and then to a complete cycle and back again with complete ease. So I went for her as my best supporting. That's not a best twist. I've got to take that one out. I was going to say Benny's a mutant, but it wasn't really a great twist. My worst twist was Benny's heel turn because I saw that coming.
Right.
As soon as he got in there, you're like, yeah, that evil look is like, oh, he's got to turn heel.
Is that because he was the only black guy in the film?
No.
Right. Okay.
Just as soon as I got to where Quato was, his face just turned. You're like, oh, he's going to try and kill somebody here. Yeah. My best entrance, I've gone for Quato.
Right, yeah. I was thinking there has to be a big entrance, but I couldn't think of one. Yeah, I guess Quato. Hey, Andy, final nominations.
I'm going to change the best entrance to when Quaid jumps through the X-ray machine.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay.
So, well, I suppose
that was an entrance.
Exit, really.
Not necessarily an entrance. Stunt, maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, speaking of worst plan, Arnold Schwarzenegger is running in the middle of an open straight line in a train station. It's almost like his plan
from The Running Man.
The Running Man, where he just runs into a massive open space where the cops can get him. He did that again. He's not learned in these action films. Johnny Cabs, I'm definitely agreeing with best inanimate object. I think that's about it. I think you guys have covered everything else.
There's a lot of different moving pieces in this film. That's plenty of nominations, I would say. That's a whole bunch. On a point 9 then, the moral of the story. What was the lesson that the film was trying to teach us? I've just got, don't trust anybody, even yourself, I think, is the moral of the story. Everybody just turns on everybody the entire way, or doesn't tell anyone anything. Like, Richter spends the whole film chasing after a guy that he's not supposed to get and all that. Nobody trusts anyone in the entire film. Who's next?
I guess mine is just stay away from Mars.
Yeah.
It's not ended well for 2 films now.
No. And Andy?
Mine is, how is a woman with 3 titties not retired by now? Especially if she's a prostitute, because she'd be minted.
Living in a mansion, yeah, absolutely minted. billions of credits. On a 10-point rating on the 10th point of the 10th
I need to remember that when it comes to the podcast.
The podcast, the Pointy Awards. Jesus, get the branding right.
Oh, yeah, for the moral quiz, yes. Okay,
favorite quiz.
10th point. Where we rate the film out of 10. Chris picks, so Chris goes first. What are you scoring?
I think this is an absolute classic. It's like your typical Arnie film, guns, fights, and explosions. I don't remember it being as big of a mindfuck as it is now, though. Now that I've like watched it properly, it blew it hurts my head trying to think of whether it's real or whether it's a dream. And like I've touched it quite a few times. Like the makeup and the effects department needed a shout out because they did a really good job in this film.
Yeah, but they might have invented an Oscar for them. We don't know.
Yeah, they deserved it. So the story is good, but you kind of like there's little bits that could have like they kind of fuck about with it, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So I'm giving that a 6.
I thought it was higher than that the way you were talking.
It sounds like you're building up to a big 9 out of 10er.
Yeah,
I went full Andy there.
Yeah, you did. Okay, I've got unbelievably good, as in I can't believe it is as good as it is. Like it has no right to be as good as it actually is. This film, and it's far smarter and more complex than it looks like. Like you look at the film and trailers, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, but actually, it's a really clever film. So I am going to go high, and I'm going to go 8 out of 10. I think it's really good, and I liked it better than I watched it a year and a half ago. Whenever it was.
I was going to go 7, and then I thought, you know, I'll try and tone it down a bit because I always go too high.
You can score it however you want, Chris. You can change to a 7 if you want, but it's your scoring. I'm giving it an 8. I think it's good. Andy?
I'm kind of the same as you guys. I actually did like this better. Normally films go down every time I watch it. However, not watching this in so long and watching pish like Inception and shit like that, this is better. This is a better version of Inception and stuff like that. I really like the story. I hated the special effects where you guys loved them all. They were just...
What?
Oh, like the heads were just shit, and the whole expanding head. Oh, it was awful. It really took it out of me. So it only gets a 5 for me.
5 from Andy. Yeah, are you sticking with a 6, Chris? Yeah. So.
Yeah, well.
Right. Scores are final once they come out of the mouth.
Well, I think in the past, Chris randomly changed the score before all the votes had been in. So I think we can. We'll see.
I can't remember what film it was. I put it up 1 or put it down 1. I can't remember.
Exactly. I can't remember what he did. Either way, it's officially a 6. So Chris has scored it accurately. If that is a 6 out of 10 for Total Recall, classic 90s action.
And this will somehow be my worst film.
I don't know this time yet.
I don't know.
But yes, so I think upper mid-table, I think is where 6 usually lands in the way. So off to a reasonable start for season 5 for the 10-point podcast. I've got a few guesses. If you want to guess what this theme is, the basis of one film like we did in the past.
Yes, I'm going to say films that have been rebooted or remade.
Nope.
Not a bad stab in the dark. I've got 3 guesses in my usual style. Is it monsters?
No.
Right, because that's usually because everyone seems to do that. They pick a film that
Who
would
could class as a monster?
I mean, Aquato's hardly a normal guy.
Exactly.
It's hardly a monster, though.
Howard
3
the Duck
titties.
is a monster.
Well, in your eyes, he was a monster.
Yeah. Okay, mutants then is my next guess. Right, and then I've got Who Am I? Is my last. Are you going? I think I might go for a title. Like, you didn't know who he is. No, right. There are my 3 guesses. And let's not dwell too much in case we do accidentally get it like last time when we get straight off what his theme was.
On to watch the film.
On to the next episode. And because we couldn't do it at the pointies, we're doing it now. It is Spin the Wheel, Pick the Movie, Movie Roulette. Still don't have a name for this feature. I'll just keep talking until the wheel appears for everybody. So yes, Movie Roulette. We have millions of movies. I still see nothing. I don't know. Oh, there we go. The wheel has now appeared. So whenever you're ready,
spinning now.
Mr. Croupier, spin away.
Here we go. It's slowing down.
Has there been any additions?
Oh, the fuck is this?
Oh, I can't see. Misery.
Oh, do you know, I watched half of this the other week.
The fuck is that?
All the time, Chris. Just watch half of it.
It was just on TV, and I thought, this is a good bit. I'll just watch it from here.
Stephen King's Misery, if I remember correctly.
I don't think I've ever watched this film. There's a film I've not seen.
You've never seen it?
I think I've never seen it either. I'm aware of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
I watched it. I've watched it fully through once, but then it was on TV. I watched it again.
1990 again for us next week. The exact same. But yes, for a drama thriller starring James Caan and Kathy Bates. I think they're pretty much the main people. Directed by Rob Reiner, who is a name I also recognise. So yeah, Misery.
Work your way through that so you can get to my pick the week after, which will be way better.
Right, okay. You'll have to sit through the misery of 1 week to get onto Andy's pick the week after. So there you go. 7 days. Watch Misery, Stephen King, and all that, and we'll catch you next time on the 10 Point Podcast.